All right, now we've got some interesting Minnesota news. Link in the description, archived, of course. Um, Interesting story. Once again, the Democrats proving their capability to try and out Republicans by imploding politically. Omar Fateh had been endorsed by the local Democratic Party for mayor of Minneapolis. And then they decided to pull the endorsement actually because they're like, well, yeah, but the discussions that we had over who we were going to endorse for this particular race weren't consulted properly. It wasn't according to the rules, and so we're unendorsing him. They gave no further reason, nor did they mention his ideology specifically in their decision-making process. Ilhan Omar is livid because this man describes himself as a democratic socialist. We've all heard that term before. Oh yeah, and we're going to oppress you, but first you have to vote us into office instead of us just shooting you until you give in. That's basically the only difference. It's basically like socialism in and of itself is a turd. Democratic socialism is when you sprinkle some jimmies on top of the turd so that it has like little rainbow swirls on top or something like that. Omar is pissed at this. To be clear, this would be similar to the Mamdani situation, only Mamdani has more of the blessing of the Democratic Party at large. And it's again, if these people keep getting elected, if you keep the Geek Squad going and you end up with socialist mayors who ram, their cities into the ground ass first over and over again, eventually it becomes a problem for the national level party. That's a problem. And the problem for the Democrats is that if you want to establish a federal level platform, so you're not talking about House seats because those are district related. Those can be gerrymandered, as we've seen lately, of course, in order to try to buff up your numbers more easily. Dishonest tactic, but both parties do it. Chicago does it all the time, by the way. But if you want to have a federal level platform, but you have local, being a mayor of a large city gives you some political clout even in DC, even though you're only representing, your city. The mayor of New York, for example, has more power than, the Wyoming representative, effectively, and a lot more congressional districts to deal with. So what happens is you embarrass the federal level party because what works in a deeply blue area does not necessarily work in a competitive state. The Democrats are ignoring this. This is the same as the dissolution of the far right front within the Republican Party. The Evangelocons of yesteryear, a lot of them are gone at this point. They made problems for the party. You would think of certain mayors and governors over the same span of time. They lost favor. They lost curry with the actual national platform, like the RNC, Trump and his movement, and so forth. And they lost favor because they weren't willing to compromise and budge. Let's say that I'm the mayor of a very conservative city or town, something like that. Is it going to be good for the party if I indulge in all of the wanton, highly, highly moralistic, very, very right-wing policies there and make a big show about it? Probably not. The same is true for the left. When the mayor of New York, which is presumptively soon going to be Mamdani, does socialistic things and opens government-run grocery stores and shit like that, the federal level, like the DNC, the actual federal level Democrats are going to have to explain to people in other states why this is fundamentally okay. They're going to have to explain that to them. Republicans have had this problem. Democrats have had this problem. What works on a local or state level does not always translate directly to a national platform that can actually win a federal election. In fact, indeed, it could also take a toll at the state level in some cases. If you get, for example, Mamdani screwing around with, the city of New York, which disproportionately carries a significant proportion of the population of the state, and loses a bunch of people, and they turn on the Democrats for having embraced him, which they are mostly, and they turn on them, this could really, really impact the gubernatorial election, the presidential election. Hell, you could see a red New York. This is not now beyond the realm of possibility. We're talking about an unlikely, but ultimately now finally plausible scenario here. Just like the Republicans when they make some stupid error at the local level in an area which is, you're in a swing state, you control, a decent sized town in an election that might be, the result is determined by 5,000 votes. You have some Republican mayor doing things that, generally speaking, independent voters would absolutely hate. Then they might say, look at that. They're looking at the news and saying, God, these people are morons. They've gone insane. Well, I guess I'm voting Democrat this year because screw this. This happens actually. And it's very interesting because, again, both parties have grave difficulty with managing the balance between local and state and the federal platform. Sometimes it works in reverse. Federal platform's dumb. Well, then, even well-liked local officials might end up getting kicked to the curb simply because of the stupidity of the national party and their decision making. This can happen. You just lost a senator. Whoops. That sucks now, doesn't it? Oh, you lost 5 governors? I wonder why you got punished for this. This also happens, so it goes in both directions. Ultimately, local, state, and federal politics and judiciary decisions, regardless of the composition of the court, tend to be dumb. This is why I'm an independent voter. This is why I'm an individualist. I don't really like grouping myself with other things. I can term myself classically liberal as far as my overall broad ideology, but even there's some deviation from the standard. And that's what I think all Americans should do. I don't even think we should have political parties. We should be voting for people based on their merit. Not just what they say, by the way, but also what they do. If a person talks a big game, they get elected and they don't do anything, probably don't re-elect them. Well, they promised you the moon on a stick and they gave you the fuzzy end of that lollipop. You got the stick, yeah, and then they whacked you in the ass with it. That's about all. Peace out.